I've had episodes talking about F-16s going to Ukraine and my thoughts on it. But it's interesting because that one, I've seen several articles pop up like on Business Insider or wherever it might be, guys talking about this is the greatest thing. This is what Ukraine needs. And then now this is the dumbest thing ever. I might be in the latter camp. But it's interesting to see, being out in this space, what pops up and who contacts you, I guess.
That would actually be interesting to hear your real perspective on that, because why you said you might be in the latter camp of why it is the dumbest thing. So people might want to know that from you, because we only know what we read in terms of this, and we don't know much about aviation. So yeah, it'd be good to hear your perspective.
I'll say, so my buddy Bender, he sent a picture to us and it was a Ukrainian student. So we typically have at any one of our pilot training bases, 30 to 50 countries that go through our T6 training, and they usually do it twice, and that they don't go into our advanced trainer. It's called Aviation Leadership Program. Basically expose other nations, train them, right? So they can go back, and we're building a continuous relationship, and these individuals are going to be leaders in their Air Force down the road. So this was back in March. We had a Ukrainian student graduate from Columbus, and then he was shot down in his MiG-29 around Memorial Day weekend. So, timestamp that's roughly 2 months. At 2 months in the F-16, I probably could barely start it. So you're taking a guy and putting him in a fighter in a war zone, a lot of OJT, go get this done in a 4th generation fighter. You spend, roughly 8 months, 9 months in an F-16 training course, and they're all about, 7-ish, 8 months. And when you come out of that, you are a qualified F-16 pilot. You know how to fly it. You know how to employ some weapons. You know how to shoot some stuff and some the basics. When you show up to your first fighter squadron, you're going to spend another 3 or 6 months going through mission qualification training. And that's the specific mission set of your F-16. So Shaw Air Force Base, where I was, that was SEED, suppression of enemy air defenses. Defensive counter air, so protect this point from the hordes of enemy fighters coming across the line. We want to protect this building, protect this base. And then there are a whole bunch of other mission sets you do that you just kind of maintain proficiency in, such as close air support. Time to go to war and do close air support, pull that book off the shelf, spin the squadron up, go do that. Needless to say, so you come out and basically you are a seeing eye wingman who just stays visual, shoots at sort, knows kind of how to employ some weapons. And that's like at the year point, right? If everything's going well. Now, if you are a previous fighter pilot, like flying, an F-15, you transition to F-16, that's probably going to happen a little bit faster. But really, we send guys through, all right, who are transitioning through the F-35 right now. When they come out on the other side of the F-35 transition program, they're going to be wingmen. They're not instructor pilots. They're not flight leads. They're not instructor pilots. Now they will most likely progress faster because they have that experience, but there's still a large learning curve. So all right, the training pipeline to get someone who is capable of flying and employing an F-16, I think is rather lengthy. It is an easy plane to fly. In my opinion, it is a tough plane to employ. Then, is it air to air? Is it air to ground? You're doing both of them. Where are we getting these F-16s? From what I've surmised, what I've heard, and this definitely is not etched in stone, but I think the plan is to buy a lot of F-16s from other partner nations with, most likely they're going to get backfilled with newer F-35s or newer F-16s. So it's a good deal for them, but no F-16 is alike. You got Block 10s, Block 25s. Like it's going to be a hodgepodge of F-16s that get dumped on them. So different avionics capabilities, different cockpit setups, somewhat different. Is it a embedded GPS INS? Is it just an INS? All these things that, you don't really think about, but those can be pretty cumbersome for pilots, especially pilots who aren't experienced. Like if I had to go fly an analog flight control F-16 versus a digital flight control F-16, just doing the startup test, like it's quite different. In a digital one, like flip a switch, let the jet do its thing, and it passes or fails. The analog one, you're doing all beeps and squeaks and flipping switches and doing all sorts of stuff. So that gets us to like, hey, let's how are we going to train them. That's going to be problematic. Where are we going to get them from? I think that's going to be problematic. How are we going to maintain them? So even our Air Force has a significant challenge of, I mean, having qualified maintainers. Like when I was getting out, that was a big challenge of having qualified maintainers. They'd moved a lot of guys around, a lot of guys and gals around, a lot had gotten out. So I don't know what the flight hour per maintenance hour is in the F-16, but I'm guessing, per one flight hour, it's definitely not just one maintenance hour. It's at least two, if not 15 or whatever it is. So, all right, you got to maintain these things. And even if you neglect them for a little bit, like they're going to start biting you at some point. All right, so now we got to maintain it. We got to have parts availability, et cetera. Like we went into the war reserve on our last deployment for like the air refueling door. Like they're pulling parts out of the boneyard for our air refueling door because we had so many that were breaking. Now, what environment are you flying around in? Like you're not flying around Afghanistan, Iraq that's uncontested. You're flying around that have Russian fighters and Russian surface air missile, defenses. I'll quote Paco from the Merge podcast. In the opening days, they had a MiG-29 that was shot down over Kyiv. He was shot down from Belarus. It was like a 150-mile SAM shot. I mean, that guy was fat, dumb, and happy doing loops and got shot up the tailpipe. Not where you want to be in life. So I think it probably gives, if you're doing it because you're supporting Ukraine and saying, hey, we're here to help. My personal take is I don't think it is a viable, it's not an off-the-shelf solution. Maybe 5 years down the road, maybe 3 years down the road if you put guys through, but it's not like, World War II, you're just pumping out pilots and pumping out Mustangs and going to dogfight. Like that was not easy, right? But the complexity of an F-16 and the systems and the weapons you're employing, there's just so many things that are going on. Again, it's an easy plane to fly, but to know how to employ it, run the radar, fly in formation, employ the formation, drive the formation as a flight lead or as an instructor pilot. So you tactically are doing it. But I guess if you need something to go fast and drop a bomb and maybe get shot at, like it's gonna be okay. But I don't know. And I guess if you got nothing else, it'd be okay. But again, it's not the end all. I don't think it's the end all be all solution. Like this is not gonna win the war. Having the